I call this meeting to order. Welcome to meeting 32 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Agriculture and Agri-Food. First, a few reminders. We are working today in a hybrid format. The proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. And just so you are aware, the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. And of course, screenshots or taking photos is not permitted. Colleagues, in the petition from Jean-François Lafleur, but we have Ms. José, who's replacing Ms. José, and we hope that she'll be feeling better soon. We're in good hands with José.
Of the budget, this is for Bill C-234, standard stuff. Do I have unanimous consent to approve the budget on C-234? Okay, great. We're going to continue to move forward. Conformément à l'article...
In accordance with Article 108, Rule 2, the motion adopted by the committee Monday, 30 May 2022, the committee responds with regard to global food insecurity. I would now like to welcome our witnesses for the first panel.
Company, we have in person here in the room, Mr. Doug McDonald. Thank you for being here. Doug serves as the Chief Marketing Officer. From the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, Peggy Breckveld. She serves as the president. Peggy, great to see you again. Saw you in August. No stranger to this committee. Thank you for all your work that you do. Avec les unions de producteurs.
And from the Union of Producteurs Agricoles, Martin Caron, General President. Unfortunately, we have a technical problem with Mr. Caron's microphone, so unfortunately, he will not be able to take the floor, but Mr. David Tuga, the coordinator for business economics, is available. Thank you, Mr. Tuga, and welcome.
So 5 minutes for opening statements. Colleagues, we have really good witnesses today. I know we were delayed because of the votes, but we're here to do our work, and I don't want to chew into the second panel, so I do intend to go right till 7 o'clock. And let's get started. 5 minutes opening remarks. I'm going to start with Mr. McDonald here in the room. Up to 5 minutes, my friend.
Thank you. Bon après-midi à tous. Merci.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing CN to contribute to the committee and provide information on CN's role in the food supply chain in Canada, as well as some potential next steps that would benefit all participants in moving goods in and out of Canada.
CN is a major contributor to the import and export of goods for Canada. In 2021, CN moved over 5.7 million shipments of freight across its network, with over 30% of that being import or export business. Primary commodities moved for export are grain, coal, potash, propane, pulp, ore concentrates, and many more. Imports are more concentrated around containers filled with retail merchandise. CN is also a major transportation partner for the food industry. CN moves significant amounts of grain for export to countries around the world. This is moved in rail cars to port for furtherance by ship, roughly 30 million metric tons per year. Grain is also moved in containers loaded near farms or at the ports for movement around the world, roughly 500,000 tons per year. Additionally, CN moves both imported and domestic food products in our fleet of refrigerated and heated containers, as well as other customers' fleets. One of the main areas that has caused insecurity for food is the disruptions in the supply chain caused by climate events in the last few years. Events like record rainfall that have caused roads and train tracks to be washed away with no notice, forest fires that tragically wipe out towns and the transportation infrastructure in the area, and freezing cold temperatures for record lengths of time that prevent normal transportation movements. These events cause serious disruption in the supply chain and impact Canada's reputation as a reliable food supplier to the world. Another key area that has caused insecurity in the drastic changes in the container markets over the last few years. The supply chain challenges created by COVID have disrupted normal worldwide flow of goods and services. The container industry has adapted to these market forces with higher prices and reduced trade lanes. This has caused a shift in the availability of containers for grain exports from Canada. As supply chains normalize, we believe rates will come down to historic levels and trade lanes slowly be reestablished. As this happens, CN will work with our customers to adapt to the new supply chains. I will highlight some areas for improvement for all supply chain participants. New and additional infrastructure will be a key requirement to improve the supply chain and security for food. In order to handle more volume through existing supply chains, capacity expansions must be undertaken. This includes port infrastructure, rail capacity, and intermodal terminal capacity. If Canada wants to have surge capacity available on short-term notification, it will need to fund it. The NTCF program is a good solution for this and needs to be fully funded and used for this infrastructure. Canada is also has one of the longest timelines to approve infrastructure investment. It makes it impossible to quickly adapt to changing supply chains. In order for Canada to expand in trade, the government needs to streamline the process for infrastructure investment. By way of example only, it took CN over 7 years to get its Milton Intermodal Terminal approved. These delays threaten the agility of the supply chain to respond to emerging issues or crises. Regulation in Canada continues to slow down or stifle investment decisions as well. Canada's National Transportation Policy provides that regulation and strategic public intervention are used to achieve economic, safety, security, environmental, or social outcomes that cannot be achieved satisfactorily by competition and market forces. I submit that regulation has departed from that guidance and needlessly interfered with market forces that would deliver better results for market participants and the global economy. And if the need to regulate exists, it must be based on hard evidence and tailored to address real issues rather than issues presented through the perspective of certain market participants. Uncertainties and lack of evidence-based regulation create uncertainties that deter investments in Canada and versus other countries with a consistent policy agenda. Lastly, the government needs to promote further automation of the supply chain while considering the ESG impacts of those changes. All supply chain participants will continue to automate while reducing the impact on the environment. The government can help in these areas by funding innovations that provide the largest impact for all Canadians. This would all need to be done with a solid implementation plan with safety embedded at every area. With that, I would like to thank the committee for the time and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. We'll get to that in a moment, but first we're going to turn to Ms. Breckveld. Over to you for up to 5 minutes.
Happy to be here. Canada is one of few countries that has the ability to grow more food than we will ever consume. We have the land, water, and climate. We have the people and knowledge. We don't worry about hitting a landmine as we prepare the soil. And we have markets, a great reputation, and safe food policies. Canada has a lot going for it. The world sees us as an answer to global food insecurity. Global food insecurity is real, significant, and needs long-term strategic answers. What can Canada do to improve the situation? 3 things come to mind. Ensure that farmers have the vital tools they need to be the best that they can be, protect the resources that are required to farm, and continue to push the envelope through research development and knowledge transfer. No one can control the weather, but there are some things that we can control. Cell and broadband internet allows us to be connected to markets and should be thought of as an essential service in Canada. Insurance programs such as Agri-Stability need enough dollars and need to work for and with farmers. Fairness inside of marketplace through proposals such as the Grocery Industry Code of Conduct and Bill C-280, the Financial Protection for Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Farmers Act, will make it easier for farmers to balance some of the financial risks. And continued access to farm labor, both domestic and from other shores, will ensure that crops are planted, tended to, and harvested on time and livestock is cared for. Finally, access to inputs such as fertilizer, equipment, and packaging is critical to farmers and processors. These come from global markets. Wise decisions and cautious development of ways forward needs consultation with agriculture and decision makers such as you. We can get these things right. The industry wants to be a part of a successful way forward. To farm, there are a few basic needs. We need farmland, soil health, and access to water, and the sun, but it tends to go up and down on its own. There are ways to protect farmland that the Canadian government can help with. As we look at infrastructure's investment in urban areas such as transit, Government can ask great questions such as, will this encourage walkable communities and renew cities inside of their boundaries? Will intensification targets be met? And pushing for long-term strategic land use policies inside our major cities will actually protect farmland that grows food for the world. We can't keep watching our cities sprawl and expect that we can continue to grow as much food as we do now. Technology is great, but I am not going to grow wheat inside of a container anytime soon. Farmland is a finite resource, and once it is put into homes or concrete, it never goes back to farmland. Soil health also matters, and if we don't feed our plants as recommended by crop advisors, we see degradation because the plants will mine the soils for nutrients it needs. Farmers know this and must balance the feed that the plants need according to their needs, including manure and green solutions, synthetic fertilizers, and micronutrients. We can't feed the world without paying attention to the needs of plants and our soils. Farmers would like to be acknowledged and rewarded also for the great practices they are currently doing. There are creative ways to do this, and best management practices, the promotion of that needs to be strategic. And farm organizations like ours can help you with this. Finally, too often research into the best solutions for farming can't happen because of dollars. And I'm aware of sectors that are struggling to get investment in research facilities and research that isn't field trialed because the dollars aren't there. Publicly funded agriculture research benefits all of society and is trusted more and can answer some of society's concerns. Both basic research and knowledge transfer are critical to seeing Canadian farmers continue to be the best they can be. As president of OFA, I see farmers' passion for growing things. Few have a desire to stay the same. They want to be the best that they can be in an environment that has tight profit margins and has many factors outside of their control. Our slogan is Farms and Food Forever. Farming isn't thought about in terms of years or decades, but rather in generations. And we should reflect on global food security or insecurity in the same way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Breckveld. Maintenant, nous avons...
Now we have the UPA, Mr. Caron. You are here with and with Mr. Tuga. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Martin Caron, General President of the Union of Producteurs Agricoles, and I am a dairy farmer and major crops. Allow me to begin by thinking of the Ukrainian people. The war in Ukraine has shown us that the food supply of our fellow citizens must be as little dependent as possible on external markets. The resilience of the world's food supply depends on distribution around the globe. No state should be overly dependent on the international markets to ensure the food security of its population. The most obvious strategy to increase Canada's food resilience is to produce a significant proportion of the food consumed by our citizens within Canada. In that regard, the UPA has been defending the concept of agriculture as an exception for many years. Agriculture and food have a commercial and non-commercial dimension. Of course, this is the case for other products, such as cultural products, but none, except water, is so vital to humans. Freedom from hunger is a fundamental human right. Thus, the agricultural exception is based on the idea that the agricultural sector deserves special status in the negotiation of international rules and treaties for trade and investment, and for a number of reasons, including the strategic aspect of the minimum independence in food supply that a state wishes to obtain or maintain. That is what the Feed Humanity Sustainably Coalition defends, in which we are a member. For Canada, This agriculture exception would allow supply management to continue in its entirety without being challenged by other countries, because this system promotes food security by stabilizing food production and helping to prevent disruptions and shocks in the supply chain. Canada needs to thoroughly analyze all links in its food chain to identify weaknesses that may affect the food security of its population. As you know, the foundation of the Canadian food chain is the agricultural production sector, which has generated over $80 billion in revenue for products in 2021. However, the global political and economic situation is affecting the resilience of the agriculture sector. Although Canadian agricultural production is generated within our borders, some of the inputs required for that production come from outside the country. First, the Canadian agriculture is increasingly dependent on temporary foreign labor, particularly in the horticultural sector. Thus, the availability of and access to these workers must remain a priority for the Canadian government. Secondly, three of the major production inputs, namely feed, fertilizer, and fuel, have seen dramatic price increases since the fall of 2021. For horticulture, the price of containers has also increased. The average price of these inputs has increased by approximately 50%, while the CPI has increased only 6.8% in the same period. For Quebec agriculture, these increases represent close to $2 billion in annual expenses every year. For Canada, $10 billion. This is unprecedented. We must all consider that established businesses are not the only ones affected. Because of the higher debt load, startup and emerging businesses are being hit hard by soaring production and rapidly increasing rates. In this context, the government must act quickly to support the agricultural sector and limit this exceptional inflationary context. We insist on the need to intervene quickly to support agricultural businesses in financial difficulty. The assistance could be modeled on the Canadian Emergency Business Account, which would combine liquidity support, the repayable portion, and assistance to support business profitability, the non-repayable portion. The government must also optimize the tools and programs already in place so that they respond appropriately to the current context. For supply-managed productions, price adjustment mechanisms must be reviewed to make them more flexible and creative. It is important to limit the consequences of rising input prices on the liquidity of businesses in this sector. Our agricultural businesses are at the heart of Canada's rural fabric. They shape our regions, their geography, the communities, and their economy. Their potential for growth is almost limitless, in part due to the growing demand for food, the quality of our products, and the loyalty of our fellow citizens to our products, local products. Let's always remember that investing in agriculture is also investing in the health of Canadians, in the economy of the country, and the food supply of future generations. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Caron. We now have the questions. First, Mr. Hu, 6 minutes.
The witnesses for being here today. Ms. Breckfeld, you touched on a couple of things that are near and dear to me, coming from a very highly agricultural area in southern Ontario, and where we do a lot of fruit and vegetable production. And I've been in the fruit and vegetable business for a lot of my life. My family has a long history there. And seeing that we're heading into a recession is what we're hearing from the experts out there. And you talked about PACA and how the importance of having this in place for fruit and vegetable growers. And if we're going to see a recession, I'm sure we're going to see some downturn with some of our businesses. And I'm just wondering if you could speak to how important it is right now that we get this in place to protect our fruit and vegetable production.
I was speaking to a representative from Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Growers just today, and they talk about the challenges financially right now with the input costs rising significantly, whether those are carbon pricing or the tariff that the fertilizer had on it, or as well just simple inputs labor prices have gone up, and bringing in packaging and such has been difficult. We want to manage as often as we can, provide some financial risk assurances, ways to make it better. And this is one opportunity for that, using a model that's already there, and that one of our biggest exporters is the US. We want to make that process as good as we can for our fresh market. It's a perishable product. You can't put it back in the box and send it back. So let's ensure that they get paid for what they grew.
Thank you very much. And if as we were talking about food insecurity and food sovereignty and ensuring that we can actually grow fresh product for ourselves here in Canada, I think that's an important part to that. And you touched on how a lot of farms in Canada are generational. And I think that's something that the general public doesn't think about. The fact that healthy soil means that we can have generations of farmers producing food in this country to feed the world. And some of the, you touched on this in just a second ago, the input costs have gone through the roof. And whether it's fertilizer, especially in Ontario with the tariffs on imported fertilizer from Russia, which is adding extra expenses, the carbon tax and the potential tripling of the carbon tax going forward. What would you like to see to help reduce some of those costs in policy so that we can ensure that we remain food secure in this country?
So farmers have paid a lot of tariff. That certainly is evident as we looked at bills this spring and as we look to the new season. I really think that the opportunity for government to take those tariffs and return them back to the farming community as a whole, to agriculture, and find ways to reinvest that, whether that is to help with in promoting more best management practices, whether that is to bring it back to the farmers themselves, that they can invest in better and better technologies that will help reduce emissions. There's a lot of opportunities there and creative ways to bring those dollars back to the industry, including even the potential of production of fertilizer in Eastern Canada. The one thing I will say is farmers are very, very nervous about the potential of losing the ability to use inputs, including fertilizer. There has been clarity that the government is looking to reduce emissions. I understand that. But on the other side, many farmers see that if we measure using fertilizer, we're probably making a mistake. Because fertilizer, when we use fertilizer, if we don't use enough, we actually degrade the soils. And the plant will slowly but surely take the nutrients from the soil, and eventually you won't have good quality soil. Or if we use more, but it is the right amount for the crop that we are currently growing, that has if the crop absorbs it and uses it the way it should with the right rate, the right product, the right timing, and the right placing, we will see actually good fertilizer usage and less emissions. I think the better way to measure for emissions would be to use a reckoning of how many best management practices farmers are using on the land. We know from research that actually will reduce emissions. And I do think that it also will provide us with the ability to continue to produce more and more food for the world. And that's what your committee is looking for, is answers that will make us the best growers.
Just one more quick question as my time's almost out. I'm just wondering, was the OFA consulted on the fertilizer issue with the reduction?
We've had conversations and certainly engaged in the process. And around this table, I know people here that I've spoken to on the issue and appreciate the opportunity to.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rood. Thank you, Ms. Breckveld. Maintenant, Monsieur.
Now, Mr. Turnbull, 6 minutes.
Thanks to the witnesses for being here today. Ms. Breckfeld, maybe I'll start with a couple questions for you. Welcome to the committee. A number of years ago, it was actually in 2015, some colleagues that I know quite well produced a report called Dollars and Cents. It was funded by McConnell, Greenbelt, and Metcalf Foundations. Some really great research in there showed that in 2015, Southern Ontario had a $10 billion trade deficit. In other words, the economy in Southern Ontario could actually produce $10 billion more food that didn't necessarily need to be imported from California or Mexico or wherever else. So the concept of import substitution. So since then, we've obviously experienced quite a number of crises that are kind of layered on, and from COVID-19 to the war in Ukraine to numerous extreme weather events that I think have consistently exacerbated, the challenges that farmers are already facing. But what I'm wondering, especially with the droughts in California and this, global integrated food system that we have, how is Ontario going to respond? Because we can grow more food for export, but there's also a lot to be said for growing more food at home for the people of Ontario. So what is the OFA doing on that front?
Production, both domestically and internationally, are both important. Domestically, either way, it doesn't matter if you're producing for global or for domestic production. Both of them require the land, the soil, the best management practices, etc. I will go back to that. We actually really do need to protect farmland. OFA has worked very hard to make it known that in the province, we are losing 319 acres a day. That adds up to 75 million carrots, or 25 million apples, or 1.2 million bottles of VQA wine if you want to have something in the evening.
That's great, and I love wine.
That's significant. Yeah.
Thank you very much for relating it to wine. I always appreciate that. I'm just I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to get another question in. In terms of your perspective, in terms of the OFA's perspective, I know you have a large membership in Ontario. Many of the farmers I know and have worked with in the past. Do you support regional food systems? Like, are you looking to build the? Because oftentimes in regional food system work that I've done in the past, there's this missing middle. There's small scale distribution and storage options, and obviously abattoirs and processing is a real challenge. So, and we know regional food systems are better for the environment. It reduces the number of kilometers on every food that's produced, and so those short supply chains. Are you working to develop regional food systems across Ontario?
We have approximately 50 federations across the province, and we certainly work with each one. And part of that work is, what does it look like in your area? Local food is a big proponent of our work, and we certainly are engaged in promoting local food, such as the Source Local program that we just did recently for Ontario Agriculture Week. We love that. But we know that it isn't the only food that we're going to produce. We are going to produce for export markets as well, whether in fruit and vegetable, beef, pork, or grains and oilseeds.
Sure, and I've heard multiple times at this committee people say and reiterate that Canada can feed the world. And I get that we have a strong suit in agriculture and we can export product around the world. But if we're relying on international trade to supply ourselves at a time when we could actually produce a lot of that food here, are we not setting ourselves up with climate weather events and supply chain disruptions for more challenges within our domestic food system?
Do you know, when World War II happened, in Holland, they had famine at a certain point because the war had destroyed so much land. Holland, for a long time, had a pretty strong national food system. They cared about their food producers for quite a few years after the war happened because they knew what food insecurity was. And when I think about Canada, I certainly agree. We need to have those regional and local food networks be strong, but we also have an opportunity to export beyond that. If you want me to say that I'm a supporter of local food, I am. I love Thunder
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
I love
Yeah,
those
thanks.
things. But I will also say that we can't envision ourselves as only doing it for Canada.
Okay, great. And how much time do I have? 45 seconds. Mr. McDonald, I'll go to you. So you, and I've read your report from CN on intermodal transportation, which I thought was quite good. Wondering, and I note that there was a really good piece in there on the GHG reductions that can be achieved with, further rail transport, which I think was really great to see. And you also mentioned that funding innovation was going to be key to and streamlining processes for infrastructure funding. Can you give us a little bit more detail on what innovations you're speaking of, other than automation, because I sort of noted that, but is there anything else within the intermodal system that CN works with that where there's really opportunities for innovation?
Now, Mr. McDonald, I hate to be cold water. No, unfortunately, Mr. Turnbull, you had 45 seconds, and the preamble was about 45. Mr. McDonald, I know you'll get another opportunity, so my apologies. You'll table that one. Monsieur Perron, 6 minutes.
Mr. Perron, 6 minutes. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you to the witnesses. My first question is to UPA. Mr. Caron, I know that you in May, you tried to alarm and inform the government with regard to exceptional inflation, the cost of inputs. You talked about that in your presentation. And my first question is, did you get any response from the federal government in that regard? Unfortunately, the sound is too poor to be interpreted.
Augmentation des taux d'intérêt. Mentionné tantôt, si je prends juste un au Québec de 1%, c'est 50 millions, puis si je regarde au niveau canadien, c'est 2 millions d'impact. Les tâches des productrices et producteurs.
I'm sorry, Mr. Caron. We have a connection problem. I think it's an internet connection problem. Was there a question for me? No, I was asking Mr. Caron if he had gotten a response from the federal government with regard to his letter sent in May, and have there been any discussions? Mr. Caron in his speech was referring to the specific assistance for helping farmers. Have there been any discussions, or has nothing happened since May? Well, there haven't been any direct contacts, but there were others linked to environmental initiatives. But with regard to the emergency fund, there was nothing. There have been no developments since the letter. Thank you very much, Mr. Caron. You were asking for quick action, and nothing has happened. And so to underscore the needs that you talked about, what's happening with startups, new farmers, including with regard to the increase in interests? Unfortunately, the sound is not good enough for interpretation.
Allez-y, Monsieur Touga.
Go ahead, Mr. Touga. In fact, the businesses that are starting up are often more indebted than the average. For agricultural businesses, the average debt has increased a great deal for agriculture as a whole, and with regard to new environmental standards. But are you afraid that some are going to have to close up shop, or it could happen that with increased interest rates, that could put added pressure on many agriculture businesses, especially for these new businesses, the new starting up businesses. So you need support that could be a kind of emergency account, some other thing. And was that something that would you recommend to the committee? Well, I think that I would agree. So we also talked about supply management in your presentation, and of course, you know that I'm in favor. It's a system that works. It's secure, stable. And do you have any recommendation for the committee with regard to protecting supply management to ensure it's viable for the future as a context, as a part of food security? As the President said in his statement, supply management is completely in accordance with the need to promote food security, ensure food security, and this is a system that provides great benefits for producers and for milk, eggs, others, and this is something that should be important in the upcoming negotiations. It should be maintained, especially in the current context of added stresses, and this has never been more important to maintain supply management. So you think that it should be protected through law? Of course, yes. Why not? And I'm not going to go to the need for employees, labor, and foreign workers. It's difficult. Do you have any recommendations with regard to meeting your needs for workers? In fact, the biggest recommendation we've made is with regard to the administrative level. The different papers needed, bureaucracy. I don't have the list, but there's a lot of administrative detail, and that adds another layer of complexity for bringing in these workers. And I think we have to be vigilant with regard to this aspect in order to continue to be profitable. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Tuga and Mr. Perron. Now, Mr. McGregor, 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to all of our witnesses for being here today. Mr. McDonald, I'd like to start with you in CN Rail. I'd like to talk to you about labor. That's a perennial theme at this committee across all sectors, not having enough of a workforce, etc. But CN Rail also had a little bit of labor strife over the summer, and I'm just wondering if you can comment not only on how is your labor gap, do you have enough employees to satisfy what capacity you'd like to be at currently? And looking forward, do you feel that your labor relations are at a pretty good point right now? Like, do you expect any more strife in the future? Can you comment on that?
Oh, great question. So today we think we're fairly staffed up for the upcoming fall peak. So we've hired 500 new conductors to help move trains, and conductors become engineers, so it's a progression. We're hiring another 800 actually Q4 and Q1, and then we have another 500 coming in Q1, Q2. So is it hard to find labor? The answer is absolutely yes. Major centers, it's not so bad. In rural areas where we still move a lot of our freight, places like northern BC and other places, it's very hard to attract people. It's very hard to find living accommodations. One of our biggest hubs is Jasper, Alberta, where you're not allowed to build housing there unless you have a reason to reside. So, people are having to commute for 45 minutes to an hour to get to their jobs, which is in a big city we're used to it, but not out in rural Alberta. But we'll continue to hire in for that. We think we're staffed up well enough to do it. From a labor strife standpoint, I think we're all set up. We have some negotiations that are ongoing now with our Unifor. I was actually in Montreal this morning kicking that off, and I think we have a lot of things in common. I think we'll be able to come to a negotiated solution like we usually do. We have all the other main unions that to run the running trades, we call them. They will start negotiating actually soon. We expect that to go through winter, and we hope to come to a good solution. It'll be contestable a little bit around wages, obviously, because of the inflation. So that's the biggest thing.
I really took note of the fact that when you made your opening statement, when you were talking about disruptions in supply chains, the first thing you cited was climate change. And of course, my home province is British Columbia. In the space of a number of months, we went from raging wildfires that burned some communities to the ground to an atmospheric river, which was not part of our lingo before last year. And, Parliament's being dominated by a conversation about inflation right now. We're having conversations about taxes, but I don't think enough parliamentarians are paying enough attention to the inflationary aspects of climate change. My province of BC shelled out more than $10 billion to fix the damage from the atmospheric river. And you've talked about the stress and threat that climate change poses to our critical infrastructure. You know very well what that atmospheric river did to our rail lines, effectively cutting off the Port of Vancouver, our busiest port from the rest of Canada. Going forward, of course, like any corporation with billions of dollars of assets, you must be mapping out where the greatest threats are. Have you identified any particular links in your rail lines which are particularly vulnerable at this moment and which we as a committee should be paying attention to within the context of food security, the ability to move food from point A to B and ship it across the world?
We've been mapping those out for years, but I'll say right off the bat that BC is obviously a hot button issue these days. It's seen the most volatility. So we're very focused on that. We've made a lot of changes in both how we operate and what we look for, working with both the BC government and all of our other partners there. You take an example today, it's very, very dry in southern BC, right? So we actually have to patrol the track more. We do things like that. We are on the lookout for fires all the time, and we'll continue to do that. And then we'll actually run slower and do other things when it gets too dry out. So we try and do everything according to guidelines, both set for Transport Canada, but also what we have internally. But it's critical. We are learning as we go, just like everybody else. No one saw an atmospheric river before, and that was devastating. We were out for 3 weeks, and I'll say it was a feat of engineering what we did to get back in time for that. But we expect to see more throughout Canada.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. I'd like to turn to the OFA. Ms. Breckveld, good to see you again. You took some time in your opening statement to mention a few things which are key to this study on food security and combating food insecurity. You took the time to mention soil health and its importance. No stranger to people around this that's also a very big passion of mine. Could you maybe develop that a little bit further, like how you're particularly establishing the link between soil health, its importance to farmers, and particularly what our committee is studying right now under this particular theme?
Two things. I think that, I apologize, there's a bit of an echo. Now it's gone. The two things I would say is, one, we should really know and assess what our soils are across this country and ensure that we have the right labeling of what everything is. The second thing I'll say is that we have to understand how soil works, and that if we don't take care of it or feed it, we will see degradation of it. There are places where farmers have decided that fertilizer or manure is not accessible. Perhaps the livestock operations are too far away, or perhaps the fertilizer is priced to a point where they no longer can afford it because the margins are too small and they don't put enough on. And you watch in 2 or 3 years how the soil changes color and the plants get smaller and smaller, and in the end you end up with just weeds.
Ms. Breckveld, unfortunately we're at time. Mr. McGregor, thank you to you both. Now we'll go back to the Conservatives. Mr. Lehoux for up to 5 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to share my time with Mr. Barlow. Mr. Caron, I hope your mic is working. Otherwise, Mr. Touga. The question is a simple one. When we're talking about insecurity, we've talked about Ukraine and the impact on international markets. If you had 2 or 3 recommendations to make to the committee, how can we provide some assistance to the federal government to ensure a better performance for our agriculture in this context? What 2 or 3 recommendations would you make? I can. Unfortunately, the connection is not good enough for interpretation. Unfortunately, the connection is still not good. Mr. Touga? Mr. Touga? I think that we had some recommendations in our presentation. Which one? Well, protecting the financial health of the business, especially with high interest rates. And we may not have mentioned it directly, but it's the increase in the tax on fertilizer and the way we can ensure that we have supplies of fertilizer, and those would be, I think, the basic recommendation we'd make. And with regard to labor, you mentioned that this is a major problem. And in previous studies last year, we talked about making it easier to fill out the salary forms and things. Has there been anything concrete that's happened in the meantime to reduce bureaucracy? I don't know. It's not really my specialty, but I think it's still much the same. You referred to inflation with regard to inputs that is a major challenge. And rather than inventing programs and especially taxes, what do you think can be done? Well, anything that could be useful is to, as Ms. Beckford said, to put more money back into the agricultural sector, and especially with the increasing costs of production. Mr. Barlow?
I just want to go back to Mr. McDonald. I know looking at some of the labor agreements, there's between yourselves and CP, I believe there's 8 labor agreements that are set to expire by the end of the year when we're looking to move commodities like grain. The Liberal Minister of Labour announced today that they were going to have a legislation against replacement workers. I know when there is a strike in the railways, a lot of times the managers step up to fill those voids. I guess 2 questions. Were you consulted on this new legislation from the Minister of Labour is one. And second, if it does impact your ability to allow management to step into some of those key roles during labour disputes, what impact is that going to have on moving commodities via rail should a strike happen?
Okay, so first of all, to my knowledge, we haven't been consulted. But second of all, when you look at rail, to run the railway, we just don't have enough managers to run it. So that doesn't happen. We did have a strike with what we call our signals workers this summer, and we did have enough managers as well as a few third-party outside people we brought in to help run the railway in that interim period. Do we want replacement workers? There's only certain areas that we could use them in, like that small area, the small union that went out. But for the major part of our railway, we could not do it. We would simply have to shut down.
So, and I know to say, in some areas, are we talking, should this happen and this legislation go through, are we talking like rail not moving? Or are we saying like a 50% reduction in capacity or the ability to move product? Do you have an idea what that would quantify that as?
No. With respect to this bill, it's not going to have a major impact on CN. Like, we would shut down regardless whether this bill is passed or not.
Okay. We had a witness in a previous study, Murad Al-Khatib from Agri-Food, who I'm sure you know well. And he said one of the key issues for the supply chain and food security was ensuring that commodities could be moved by pipeline or moved by pipeline, and commodities that need to be moved by train, moved by train. Is that something that you would agree with, that it's important that we have all supply chain options available?
Absolutely. We should be moving them by the lowest cost method to bring them to market, and that helps everyone maximize out what they're going to make, the farmers, all the way through to whoever's moving that product, and have the cheapest cost for the people to buy.
Thank you, Mr.
And
McDonald.
it's lower on GHG emissions, too.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Barlow. We'll go to Mr. Lewis now for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'm going to split my time with Mr. Turnbull and let him go first. He seemed to be on a roll in the last rounds.
Well, thanks, Mr. McDonald. I'll go right back to you with the question that I posed. I'll refresh your memory. It was about innovation you spoke to and funding that innovation within our supply chains, and specifically looking at the intermodal system that CN Rail relies upon and to some degree oversees. Is there, I think it's about surge capacity, it's about resilience within that supply chain that I'm really interested in, and where specifically there's sort of strategic investments and innovations that we could be helping fund.
Okay, so two things for innovation. So first of all, very briefly, we're going to basically electrify a lot of the, I'll say the cranes, things like that within the terminals. That'll help out. What you're really talking about, so how do we add capacity at the same time? So one of the things we want to do is add smaller regional terminals actually within smaller population centers. Why is that good, right? That allows us to cut down on trucking, because right now it's port or major city to major city. There's a lot of trucking that comes out of our intermodal terminals. A lot of them go for 1, 2, 3, 4 hour, and some are a lot longer. By putting in smaller regional terminals, and we're actually working with the Port of Hamilton to do one now, so it's key for us to be able to actually cut those GHG emissions and actually make things more available for everyone at a cheaper cost.
That's great. And in terms of, I noticed in your package here, the Intermodal 101, that you actually said that there was about 30 kilometers of empty cars that have to go into the different ports in order to be able to be filled with product coming in. Is that right?
Yep, it seems like a big number, but it's not. So that's when you look at all the ports in Canada, we deliver 30 kilometers of cars a day. Usually they're stacked full of either loads going for export or they're empty containers, right? And then they get offloaded and they get reloaded and shipped out the next day.
Yeah, I know in the trucking industry we talk about backhauling and, the idea of making sure that trucks aren't driving, empty. And I'm just wondering if there's any opportunities for that within your system, and whether that's something you've looked at. I'm sure you have, but just wondered.
Probably about 70% of the containers we move back into the ports are actually loaded for export going out of Canada, and only about 30% are empty.
Great. I'll go back to my colleague here, Mr. Lewis, who's gracious enough to share his time. Thanks.
And I want to say thank you. Appreciate all the witnesses for being here already. Maybe I'll continue with Mr. McDonald. In your report in 2022, you talked about Mr. McGregor spoke about the importance of the climate crisis we're going through and how much it's affecting things. And now we're moving into resilience. The closure of the navigation system for the seaway system here in Ontario, that end-to-end grain supply chain capacity, it's going to be reduced when the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system is closed. So what kind of resilience measures are being done to prevent these, to prevent the damage, and what more can be done?
So the key thing is using every output you can. So we've tried to present a balanced plan within the industry. So that's using, when the Great Lakes close down and Thunder Bay shuts down for grain, you can move more to Montreal and do export, or through Hamilton if you want to do that. But generally it's Montreal, Quebec City are the two major export ports for us, and Trois-Rivières. So, or you can go west. The issue is it's not really taken full advantage of, strictly because the grain companies make more profit going over Vancouver. And that's fine. That's their prerogative to do. But it leaves open a large supply chain. I'll say the St. Lawrence Seaway in the winter, used to do something like 10 million tons a year via rail through those export ports. Now it's down to like 2 or 3. So there's a lot of capacity there that could be used, just won't be as profitable for the grain companies to do it.
And then maybe to follow up on, you mentioned container shortages in the opening statement and talked about the rates. And we had done in the previous Parliament a study on supply chain, and that was one of the things, the price of rates. You said they're coming down, or you hope they're coming down. What needs to be done? What are your predictions? I hate to use the word prediction, but what would your predictions be?
Well, so the market has brought them down. So when you're looking containers coming inland, so they're down into almost the historic levels. So not for the last 2 years. And then going export, it's not the container supply. The supply is there. It's actually, with COVID, the trade lanes out of Vancouver were cut to almost nothing. So now containers are forced to go over Montreal, which still has all their trade lanes open. So it's created a whole different supply chain that's in effect. So I'll say the supply is there, but the ocean steamship lines have to reopen their trade lanes to make it more competitive for Canada to get to other markets.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Monsieur Perron.
Mr. Perron, 2.5 minutes. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to ask Mr. Touga. With Mr. Caron, you made a number of interesting recommendations. What about increasing regional processing capacity? We've heard other witnesses talk about developing processing facilities. I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you have a recommendation, solution to offer to the committee? I think at the UPA, I think all markets are important. So then both the local, regional, national export markets, yes, we're favorable to these types of markets. Those are there are advantages and advantages having the products close to the consumers, and I think we also need to develop bigger export markets as part of a dynamic system. So yes, regional markets, yes, but without forgetting other types of markets. Of course, but what difficulties do you have as a regional group for slaughter, for example? And do you have different kinds of solutions or recommendations? Good question. It's the challenges are regulations and paperwork, finance, funding constraints. I think there are a number of aspects, but the regulatory aspect is right at the top of the list. Thank you very much. And talking about financing innovation, or at least not harming, or at least favorizing or promoting innovation. We just heard about that not long ago. Do you think that's something that's worthwhile, and how can we promote innovation and still taking into account the environment and providing capital to businesses for innovation? This is a very worthwhile approach, and we want to continue to work in this area, and this will provide us with funds to invest elsewhere for crop rotation and things like that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. McGregor, 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think maybe for my last question, I'll turn to the OFA, to Ms. Breckveld again. Food prices is a big topic these days, but staying on the theme of food security within Canada, we know that we're very lucky to be living in a country which produces far more food than its own citizens can consume. But we also know that across the entire food supply chain, fully a third of food ends up wasted. So that's a pretty significant amount. I know previously the government, has brought in the food waste reduction challenge and stuff like that. But we still, if you look at the stats, they show we still have a major problem on our hands. So if we have fully a third of our production along the entire supply chain ending up in waste and not getting to people who need it, does the OFA have any kinds of recommendations of what you would like to see the federal government do to meet this challenge, help farmers out in addressing this and making sure that people who are from day to day wondering where their next healthy meal is going to come from. If you have any thoughts to add to that, that'd be appreciated.
I think COVID highlighted the fact that there were challenges throughout the process line. And I think it also highlights ways that we could certainly improve the process and reduce waste. We need to ensure that at the farm gate, we have the ability to have enough people on our farms to harvest the crop to make sure A, it gets in, and B, that it can get out. We need enough truck drivers to bring that and healthy transportation lines to bring that product to consumers. And we need, at the consumer level, we need the right ways to ensure that the product can be consumed or purchased before the best before date. And beyond that, we have to ensure that consumers understand the best way to utilize the food that they've certainly purchased and before it is a waste. So there's pieces along the whole chain that certainly could be improved, and ways that government can help inform, improve, and benefit all consumers. If we have a healthy food chain, we will have a healthy, or we will have less waste and more people able to purchase food.
That's a great way to finish on our first panel. Thank you, Ms. Breckfeld. Thank you, Mr. McGregor, Monsieur Touga.
Thank you, Mr. Touga, Mr. Caron. Other than the technical problems.
Mr. McDonald, thank you to all of you for your collective work, obviously in agriculture and the transportation that moves agriculture products. Colleagues, don't go far. We've got a great second panel. We do have a hard stop at 7, so I want to get this started as soon as possible. Colleagues, thank you for the quick turnaround. Of course, we've got the second panel, and we're going to get started. And we have three really good witnesses here today. First of all, the Honourable Ted Menzies, and I have a lot of similarities, I think, to Mr. Barlow because his predecessor, it was very difficult, I'm sure they said, to fill Mr. Menzies' shoes. And for me, it was Scott Bryson. And Ted, great to see you here. Thank you for your work as a parliamentarian, and thank you for what I know will be an informed discussion today about the ways in which we can help propel agriculture in the days ahead. We also have Russell Hurst, who is joining from the Ontario Agribusiness Association. Mr. Hurst is joining us online. Thank you for being here. And from Protein Industries Canada, William Gruel. I know him as Bill, but Bill, thank you for your work in helping drive plant protein research and opportunities across Canada, but of course, particularly in the Western provinces. So with that, we're going to get right to it. I've got Mr. Menzies up to 5 minutes for opening remarks, and then we're going to turn to questions. Over to you, Mr. Menzies.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And first, let me express my appreciation for this committee's work, their efforts in increasing a very increasingly more crucial issue, and that is of food security. You have heard from many experts already, and they have provided some very credible and compelling facts and advice. So please allow me to provide some personal viewpoints and experiences from a Canadian farmer's perspective. I will share some sustainable food production methods and outcomes. My wife and I spent 30 years actively growing field crops, starting with mostly wheat and barley, then evolving to rotations that help offset disease and pest challenges and increase the sustainability of the soil. Those included oilseeds, pulse crops, legumes, varied winter and spring crops, even spice crops. Our farm lies within the geographic Prairie Triangle that was famously reported by explorer John Palliser to be unsuitable for crops. Over the years, we adapted and improved our methods, our varieties, and our equipment. This year, for example, barley on our home farm with rainfall of 8 inches or 20 centimeters, which is about 1/3 of the Canadian average rainfall, averaged 99 bushels an acre, or 6 tons per hectare. That's more than we've ever grown before. That's double the yield of 40 years ago. There are many factors that have improved both yield and quality through research such as improved varieties for drought tolerance, shorter season maturity in plant pest deterrents, time to release nutrients, and improved photosynthesis. The use of satellite technology for data collection, GPS guidance, sectional equipment control have all enhanced efficiency and sustainability. Producers can grow more with less. This is good news for the grower, good for the consumer, and good for the environment. Never forget that sustainability has two fundamental components, environmental and economic. Many countries provide a stark example of not considering both. The EU, with its nonsensical farm to fork, is proven actually to reduce food. Sri Lanka's failed organic experiment that caused immediate mass starvation was and still is devastating. The full-bellied activists want all food grown under the guise of regenerative agriculture, a term for which no two people could offer a similar definition. I would invite these activists who have not set foot on a farm in search of knowledge to explain to a mother in Kenya, Ethiopia, or Somalia, growing cassava to feed her hungry family, that she should not nurture her crop with fertilizer or protect it from pests and diseases with approved, safe chemistries. I was privileged to observe agriculture in Africa using primitive agrarian practices. Subsistence farming is not sustainable, either for the soil or for food supply. Why do I give these comparisons? Because governments tend to listen to loud activists that care less for those who go hungry than they do for their unscientific research gleaned from their own internet algorithms. They claim we would all be better off growing less food and using less crop protection, but fail to understand the harm that this would cause to the air, the water, and soil through organic practices that require increased tillage, causing soil erosion, organic pesticides, many that are more harmful to nature than those actually approved by certified regulatory bodies, and substantial increases in greenhouse gas emissions from excess field equipment passes. Many of Canada's food-producing regions benefit from a changing climate, but along with that comes the moral responsibility to help feed those who are negatively impacted by a changing climate. And shame on us if we don't, or if we are not allowed to step up to that responsibility. Canada's farmers and ranchers stand ready to do that. Several witnesses shared how the war in Ukraine has created serious food insecurity in regions with the least available options. They all need our support. In Canada, we produce more food and continue to do so. But beware reckless theories, such as blanket reduction of nitrogen fertilizer use as an attempt to reduce emissions with no understanding that actions already taken by farmers have accomplished more to reduce emissions through practical methods that don't limit food production.
Mr. Menzies, I apologize. I gave you an extra 20, 30 seconds. We are at time, okay. But I know that you'll be able to continue your thoughts and your testimony because I know all of us will want to engage. I'm going to now turn to Mr. Hurst for up to 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Russell Hurst, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Ontario Agribusiness Association based in Guelph. We represent companies that range from single owner operators to large multinationals who operate country and terminal grain elevators, livestock feed mills, and crop input facilities operating out of approximately 500 locations throughout the province. In terms of our sector's economic impact, on an annual basis, we generate in excess of $16 billion in sales, employ over 30,000 employees, and contribute over $4 billion in value-added GDP annually. Ontario agribusiness members are on the front lines helping Ontario farmers grow stronger, healthier crops and livestock through the utilization of cutting-edge innovation, implementing established best practices, and supplying quality products that increase crop yields and quality and produce healthy and productive livestock, all while focused on ensuring our precious environmental resources are enhanced for the next generation. In respect to recommendations on how this government can improve Canadian exports on the global stage, we view this as an opportunity with two distinct areas of focus. The first is to enable Canadian farmers and the suppliers who support them with the business predictability and access to innovations that allow them to produce food that is desperately needed by the world's population. The second is to have domestic supply chain infrastructure and trade policy that supports the sector domestically and globally. Our recommendations, Mr. Chair, are the following. 1, we need a predictable business environment that allows for agricultural products to be sourced globally for utilization on Canadian farms. Eastern Canadian farmers have relied on nitrogen fertilizer imports from the Baltic and Black Sea regions for decades. We are very supportive of the Government of Canada's imposed economic sanctions on Russia resulting from the invasion of Ukraine, but would prefer sanctions that do not negatively impact our domestic agricultural supply chain. Moving forward, our request is that the tariff be removed to allow our members who import fertilizer and retail fertilizer to farmers to best negotiate fertilizer imports within an incredibly competitive global marketplace to allow for business predictability and a degree of price stability. Number 2, domestic supply chain resiliency through increased value-added processing capacity. We need a practical and predictable regulatory environment so our members can make long-term investment plans. Supply chains must be resilient so our products can get to and from farmer customers domestically. We can add value through further processing, and products can be shipped to both our domestic and global customers so that we can contribute and play a leadership role in addressing the global hunger gap. 3, we need strategic investments in transportation infrastructure for this generation and the next. Canada is a trading nation. A strong agribusiness economy needs to prioritize infrastructure investments in necessary road, rail, pipeline, and water-based transportation hubs, such as the Port of Hamilton, where over 50% of the soybeans and 70% of the wheat grown in Ontario transition through that facility into the global marketplace. In short, the Port of Hamilton and its highly efficient transportation corridor are vital to the economic viability of the agriculture sector in Ontario. 4, foster innovation and climate change resiliency. Our sector has worked diligently to ensure farmers have both the economic and environmentally optimum amounts of fertilizer to grow their crops. Our members are not only experts in fertilizer products, but also innovative best management practices for fertilizer use. The 4R nutrient stewardship concept has been championed by both industry, government, academia, and farmers for well over a decade. Embracing 4R nutrient stewardship is the solution that supports both continuous improvement and respects nutrient utilization and environmental responsibility. In conclusion, global food security is complex. In many cases, incorporates both political and economic stability concerns. I commend the committee for exploring the role in which the government can play in being a champion for Canadian agriculture. Given the right tools, policy, and trade environment, the Canadian agri-food industry is among the best and most resilient in the world. There's capacity to grow and export more. Our members have the ability to efficiently source inputs, provide technical expertise to farmers, and export Canadian-grown crops to the world, given a predictable business environment that supports long-term growth. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I look forward to any questions the committee may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. We're now going to turn to Mr. Gruhl for up to 5 minutes, and then we'll turn to questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and committee members for having me here today. As mentioned, my name is Bill Gruhl. I'm CEO at Protein Industries Canada. We are one of Canada's 5 global innovation clusters and are working to accelerate innovation in Canada's plant-based food and ingredients sector. And we're doing this by building off Canada's strong foundation that makes agriculture and food sector one of the best in the world. Farmland, an abundance and diversity of variety of rain-fed crops, and people who are committed to bringing healthy food to the tables of Canadians and around the world. Over the past 4 years, Protein Industries Canada, along with the sector, has invested almost $500 million to advance plant-based ingredient processing and food manufacturing right here in Canada. And this investment represents a Canadian-made solution to a global food challenge. As a global agriculture powerhouse, Canada has the means, resources, and skill to turn crops into food and transform the world the way the world eats. With this innovation, we believe we are advancing solutions to some of humanity's greatest challenges, including climate change, human health, and food security. As you are all aware, we are facing a global food production and distribution challenges at scale that many of us have never experienced before. The lingering effect of fragile supply chains impacted by COVID-19, combined with the climate change and global conflict that have led to food inflation and, in some cases, food shortages. And unfortunately, this is not a one-term event. We should expect food shortages to persist as climate change continues to impact our ability not only to grow food, but to transport it. This, layered with a growing global population, only means that the number of food-insecure people will only increase. And there is no doubt that Canada has an important role to play in helping mitigate this crisis. To do so, I believe there are 3 main areas that Canada must focus our efforts to increase exports and help lessen global food insecurity. Firstly, we need to increase domestic ingredient processing capacity. With our strengths in the production of commodities, Canada can do more to support global and domestic food security by processing those crops here at home. Plant-based ingredients and food are a source of sustainable economic growth. Increasing processing allows Canada to seize more value here at home, creating jobs and capturing the economic value associated with food and ingredient processing, an estimated additional $25 billion per year and 17,000 jobs by 2035. It will also strengthen our own domestic food supply chain, minimizing our reliance on food import from other countries in a highly competitive global marketplace. Thirdly, it tempers the effects of non-tariff trade barriers that can disrupt the movement of commodities. Put simply, ingredients in food are less likely to become part of a trade disagreement, meaning that they can continue to be exported and get into the hands of those who need them. And finally, processing and exporting ingredients will require a more diversified transportation, lessening the agriculture sector's reliance on rail. My second recommendation is the need for a regulatory climate that supports and rewards innovation. While Canada's regulatory system is key to our ability to deliver safe food, we can also use it to drive innovation. We need a regulatory system that is timely and predictable and more closely aligned with our key trading partners, such as the United States. This will allow for better flow of ingredients across the border and ultimately to other countries. My final recommendation is that we need to do more to build Canada's international reputation as a supplier of reliable, nutritious, sustainable ingredients and food products. Historically, we have been focused on commodities, and we have a strong reputation as a supplier of bulk grain, but we are in the middle of a food revolution, and Canada is at the forefront. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to become the preferred global supplier of plant-based foods and ingredients. To take full advantage of this opportunity, we need to tell our sustainability story and create the systems to define and defend our global brand. I want to thank you for your time today, and I look forward to any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gruel. So, colleagues, just for your knowledge, we're going to be a little bit tight on time. We'll definitely get the first panel in with the 6. I'll then go to the Liberals and Conservatives. It might even have to be a bit condensed. I'll do my best to get to the other parties, but to the Bloc and to our NDP members, please make sure that you exhaust all your questions in the 6 minutes in case I can't get back to you. So, we're going to go to Mr. Barlow for 6 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Menzies, I would just invite you to submit your opening remarks to the clerk, so since you weren't able to finish, we have that on the record. But some of your comments that you mentioned about our moral obligation to help feed the world, I think, resonates. But I think as part of that, it shows the importance of fertilizer, crop protection products, certainly biotechnology and innovation. But I would argue that this government is starting to make some policy decisions based on politics and ideology rather than sound science, and that's hurting our reputation. For example, can you speak about the government's decision to pause the review on the MRLs and the impact that might have on our ability to meet our commitments, but also as a trading partner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Barlow, for that question. The maximum residue limits, just to clarify what your question was, we have those are set up by an international body, and we have one of the most revered systems around the world as far as health protection. So, Canadian Federation of the CFIA, as well as our Pest Management Regulatory Agency, and they have to do regular reviews. We understand that. That's our commitment to the other bodies around the world. But these are some of the safest products. The maximum residue limits are usually, I think, the numbers that, using glyphosate, for example, you would have to eat 8,000 tons of something that had been sprayed with glyphosate to have even a sore stomach. Like these are very health conscious regulations, but there's concerns that they're not listening to the science, and so we as farmers are very concerned with this. As I mentioned in my comments, this is the way that we have stopped soil erosion, stopped a repeat of the dirty 30s, is through these new technologies. Don't take them away.
So, and I'm glad you spoke about the PMRA as well, and certainly I would caution the government that is injecting politics in some of these decisions, which should be science-based. And for example, on the PMRA, they have now created a politically appointed advisory panel. And just to quote from what part of their mandate is they will insert themselves prior to evidence-based decisions on PMRA on pesticides. So to me, that is saying that there's going to be a political decision before the science ever comes to fruition. Do you know any other country that has a similar policy in place?
I would certainly hope that there isn't one. You folks sitting around this table, and I was one, I was never an expert in every discussion that we had, whether it was on the floor of the chamber or wherever it was. We depend on scientists to give us that information. We watch what we've gone through with COVID. We depended on science rather than our own emotions. And to have that as a precedent, have people that are not the experts, not scientific experts, very concerning.
What would be, Mr. Menzies, what would be the risks potentially to Canadian agriculture by politicizing departments like the PMRA and in their decision-making rather than ensuring that is science-based and politics is not a part of those decisions? What would be the impact? If glyphosate, for example, decisions are based on politics and activism and not sound science?
Very bluntly, our credibility around the world. Right. Would they be so comfortable buying food from Canada if we had a partisan system of reviewing what was safe and what wasn't safe? Very simply.
Thank you. And at the end of your comments, when you kind of ran out of time there, you were mentioning that what the fertilizer emissions reduction policy, for example, is it doesn't bring into consideration the understanding of steps that producers are already taking to ensure that they are efficient, environmentally, but also economically sustainable. One of our colleagues was very adamant the other day that farmers aren't making these changes to new innovation, new technology, unless they are being punished with carbon taxes or forced to reduce emissions and usage of fertilizer through regulation. Do you think that's a fair statement, or do you think farmers are doing everything they possibly can to innovate and embrace new technology when it becomes commercially viable and available?
Have you looked at the price of fertilizer? Why would a farmer waste it? As I mentioned, we changed our processes. We use more fertilizer where there's a potential of there being a better crop. I've left 60 acres of my farm to wildlife because it was not good soil. And so I don't spend any money putting fertilizer on that. I put it on the good land. You'll have seen a report out of Brazil where they're very concerned about next year's crops because with the price of fertilizer, farmers have reduced their inputs. So Brazil is a major food source for all of South America. So there's another concern because of simply the cost of fertilizer. That's without a regulatory burden placed on top of it.
I'm out of time, but I just want to mention to your 40 acres, what would happen if you're having to use less fertilizer? You're going to try and force yourself to cultivate that 40 acres, which probably isn't good for agriculture, which is actually going to increase your emissions and use of fossil fuels.
Mr. Barlow, we'll have to leave it at that on an editorial note, but I know Mr. Menzies, if asked again, will be able to respond. Mr. Drouin, 6 minutes.
Thank you. It's amazing what a market mechanism can do to change behavior. I'm just going to put that out there. But Mr. Menzies, I know you've made some statement, and I agree with you. A lot of farmers are doing good practices. But I'm just wondering. I mean, because the government of Canada just gave $17 million to the Canola Council of Canada to help implement more widespread use of 4R. Are you saying that all farmers are currently doing 4R? Because I'm gonna call them up and get $17 million back because if we're wasting money. So I know that some farmers, as there's always a bell curve, some of them are at the forefront of technology, some of them take longer for whatever. It's not because they're bad people, it's just the way that society behaves. And I know I've got farmers back home, takes one neighbor to start the ball rolling, they come, they kick the tires. Okay, now I see you guys are doing this, maybe I'll adapt that. 4R, I know we can get to anywhere between 50 to 75% of our target just by implementing 4R. And I would say that flexibility, the way you farm back west, is completely different the way that our farmers farm back east. Cover crops in your neck of the woods don't make any sense. You'd spend more resources and more carbon implementing cover crops. So flexibility in order to produce more food, I think, is key here?
Yes, certainly it is. And,
Yeah.
and no, not everybody is practicing for our nutrient stewardship. But it's good there's an incentive. It'll get more people interested in it. It's just like environmental farm plans. People can actually put down on paper what they are doing. That's good for our credibility around the world as well, that we are practicing. But what we've done by focusing on fertilizing the good land and less fertilizer on the poorer land, the sectional controls that we have, like all of that has contributed to less use of fertilizer. We used to overlap way too much without GPS. I could drive straight, but not really straight. And we wasted. We wasted seed, we wasted fertilizer, wasted manpower, all of that. That simple improvement in GPS technology made immense improvements in our environmental footprint. Zero till. I went to zero till back in the 80s. I was one of the first ones in our area. I cut my fuel consumption by 40% in the first year. Look at the greenhouse gas emissions reductions just there. Not everybody can do it. They're working
Out
on it.
east, it
Potatoes
doesn't
and
make sense
PEI.
because growing season would start about a month and a half later if there wasn't an access to tilling, just because too much clay in the area. So it's but I think the key here is there's different ways to get to an objective, and I think governments have to recognize that there has to be flexibility in ways that we can achieve the same objectives. But thank you for your comments. Bill, thanks so much for coming before our committee. I know you guys have been doing an amazing job, and you've come up with about 3 recommendations. One of them is to increase ingredient processing capacity in Canada. What is it that you think government could do to do that? Is it through more incentives? Is it through more potential grants? Or
Yeah, there's a couple things, and just to set the stage in terms of the numbers, we produce on average 90 million metric tons of crops in this country, and we're processing 16 to 21 million metric tons, depending on what you put in the bucket. So the delta is huge. In incentives and investment in innovation is critically important, but really what the sector needs is a competitive business environment in which for organizations and companies to make large investments, because we're talking about investments of, upwards of $600 million, anywhere from $200 to $600 million. So, greater access to capital is certainly something that organizations need. We've talked a little bit about the regulatory environment for Canada. The novel food regulations and ingredient regulations in this country need to be thought about and reformed in terms of making it more attractive for companies to invest, and just support throughout the entire value chain, because one of the reasons that Canada is an attractive place for ingredient manufacturing is because of producers like my good friend Ted beside me, who ensures that we've got access to supply. So it is really bolstering the whole of the Canadian agriculture economy, and we shouldn't be thinking about ingredient manufacturing in and of itself.
Thanks for that, and I'd love to sit. I know we can't have this conversation right now in 2 minutes, but to discuss how we can modernize that regulatory environment so it makes more sense, I'd love to sit down after this meeting later to discuss specifics. You've also mentioned the international reputation, and from that, I'm asking. You've mentioned if we produce more food here or process more ingredients, then we can avert some of the non-trade barriers that we sometimes face. I'm just wondering, should Canada focus more on making their international trade deals work, the ones that we currently have, or do we continue signing trade deals left and right? And that's, in an ideal world, we'd have resources to do both. But I think we probably don't, and I'm just wondering your opinion on that.
Well, we've got trade deals with, a large number of global consumers, and as you say, you can always do more. But the reality is, as a net exporter of food and crops and ingredients, we have to do a bit of both. But if you really look at the markets where we have trade deals today, those are probably the most lucrative for us from an agricultural perspective, especially as we think about evolving from commodities to higher value ingredients.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dren. Thank you, Mr. Gruel. Now,
Mr. Perron, go ahead. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you to the witnesses. I'm going to start with Mr. Ertz. You've provided a list and in your recommendations and viability and innovation, you mentioned that you think that the sanctions should not affect our production chain, but do you think we should try and guarantee or secure this access to fertilizer? Do you have any information with regard to that?
I think from a fertilizer security standpoint, I think that Canadian and Eastern Canadian farmers and fertilizer importers play in a global value chain. I think the difficulty that we've experienced kind of collectively with the fertilizer sanctions is Russia was a very significant player, a very major player up until last spring for Canadian fertilizer imports. And one of the challenges with the tariff is that it does hamper our members and the fertilizer importers' ability to successfully negotiate good terms with other global fertilizer players when they fully realize that your negotiating power is significantly hampered when there's particular sanctions on such a major producer. So I think moving forward, I won't speak for any individual business decision, but I think generally speaking, the fertilizer importers that are bringing product into Eastern Canada are looking to source product from other regions of the world. But when there are certain issues around negotiating power, I think anything we can do to make Canadian importers and then directly farmers more competitive on a global marketplace and not be hampered by sanctions that have an unintended consequence in Canadian farmers is something we would look for.
Je m'excuse, Monsieur Hurst.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, but could we have some kind of a compensatory system that could compensate for the sanctions? But what problem is there with negotiations elsewhere for fertilizer?
Yeah, so maybe two parts to that. I think we're certainly very supportive of growers in Eastern Canada receiving some degree of compensation, and I think it's been discussed with the farm associations. I think Peggy noted that previously today. I think to the second part of your question, I think the difficulty is when the supply opportunities at a global level for specifically nitrogen fertilizer become significantly restricted, the ability for Canadian importers to secure the quantity of nitrogen to satisfy the needs of Eastern Canadian growers becomes quite stressed. And therein lies the challenge for us is to make sure that there aren't any external factors that hamper importers' ability to negotiate good prices. And the reality is when the significant portion of Canadian nitrogen fertilizer use in Eastern Canada was from Russia previously to this current year, it poses a lot of challenges for those importers when they're looking to secure other supply chains.
Thank you very much. You also mentioned the need to improve and encourage resiliency in the food chain. Do you think that we also have to strengthen processing at the regional level?
Oui.
Absolutely. And I think Bill noted a bunch of really good examples there, but I think from our standpoint, we export way too many commodity crops that we could be further processing domestically, specifically within the province of Ontario. That's something that we would look for a business environment that fosters agribusiness investment domestically, where they see a predictable business environment and see a positive return on investment moving forward. But I think Bill gave a lot of really good examples of what that may look like, specifically in the protein side of the business.
Okay, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Mr. Grell, you talked about supporting local processing. Do you have anything to add?
The only thing I would add to that is that local processing of crops and ingredients is really the foundation of the next stage, which is plant-based food production in Canada. So anything that we can do to move further up the value chain in the conversion of our crops to plant-based foods is a critical piece. And so if you want to think about local food production and domestic food production, the first and critical step I would say is ingredient manufacturing and the conversion of our crops into high-value ingredients in Canada.
I understand. And maybe in just a few seconds, do you think that would help us avoid non-tariff obstacles?
Yes, I do think that would avoid non-tariff trade barriers, because what we're seeing mostly in terms of trade barriers is at the commodity level. And if we're better integrated into supply chains on a global basis with high-value ingredients and food products, it becomes more challenging for those to be subject to non-tariff trade barriers.
Merci.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perron.
For 6 minutes.
Very much, Mr. Chair. I think I just want to continue on the discussion that we're having around fertilizer, and thank you, Mr. Menzies, for your opening statements. I think that's remarkable and very commendable, like what you've been able to do in your career farming, the amount of food you've been able to produce with less inputs, and just I think that's remarkable, and it shows that many of our farmers are in fact the ones who are leading the way on this. But when it comes to the discussions we've been having, it's become very politically charged. And some people are using fertilizer reduction when actually it's an emissions reduction target. And I think you would agree with me that if you gave two farmers the same amount of fertilizer, they could have wildly different emissions depending on how it was applied, right? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, having an emissions reduction target, I think, is a good thing, and it speaks to the 4R principle that many people are employing. I think, and the fact that it's a voluntary target, I think the political hoopla over this is based on a lot of misinformation. It's an emissions reduction target that we're trying to achieve. Many farmers are already doing this, and I think ultimately it's something we want to encourage the sector to do. But in your opening statement, I want to change the subject. You mentioned the radar set and how it's helped your operation and helped many farmers. I went to a reception on Monday from Space Canada, and Canadian technology in space is well known. We've got the Canadarm, the radar set, and the astronaut who was there was really speaking of the need for further federal investments in space technology. Particularly the radar set. So could you maybe discuss, how that Canadian technology has helped you and other farmers, and possibly what uses you see for it in the future within the theme of our study today?
Well, thank you. Very good question. A lot of it is tied to data collection and ways of analyzing data. So farmers collect that data. Part of the problem, and I'll digress a bit here, most farmers collect all this data in their combine or their tractor and can't download it until they get home at 2 o'clock in the morning because they don't have internet access out in the field. So we've got to work on that too, but that's a side point. But collecting that data is to where in the field I could use more fertilizer, where in the field I don't need to use more fertilizer. And that is cross-referenced with the yield. So you can tell the high spots need a little more fertilizer, that here's a yield bump for this year, that goes into your planning for next year. And it's all beyond me how this is all done, collected. But the collection of data is so valuable. Something that I wanted to add to this, and we're talking about trade here and exports. The one thing that we can export, and we don't even have to get it into a trade negotiation with another country, exporting technology, exporting our scientific advances, just what you're talking about, and the knowledge, not just food. Nobody puts a tariff on exporting knowledge, helping other countries, bringing students here to our post-secondary institutions that are amazing places. No trade barriers on that whatsoever. I digress, but I wanted to get those points out.
Sure.
But you're
No,
right.
thank
Canadian
you.
technology, it's great.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'd like to turn now to Protein Industries Canada. I've been fortunate to be a member of this committee now for 4.5 years. And it's a real passion of mine. But, you know, back in 2018 during the 42nd Parliament, this committee did a cross-country trip as a part of our technology and innovation study, and I believe one of our stops was in Saskatchewan to look at one of the super clusters. And we were treated to some of the amazing food products that Canadians were developing from things like lentils and just the ability to derive those proteins from plant-based foods, which is what you're all about right now. And we know right now that many Canadians are struggling with the price of food. They're making difficult decisions. And we know protein-rich foods tend to be pretty expensive. So I think that ties in with the theme of food security. Could you maybe explain, like, you know, with what this technology offers, the ability to derive more protein from plant-based sources, how is that ultimately going to help Canadians who may not have the means to just give them more options to have a protein-rich diet?
Yeah, thank you. And I think what you've described underpins the imperative that we increase food processing and ingredient processing in Canada. Because, you know, what at the end of the day, consumers want choice and accessibility, and they want to choose food products for whatever reason. Maybe it's environmental health, maybe it's their own health, maybe it's animal welfare. You know, the choices are theirs. What we need to be able to do in this country is give them choices to do that and make them affordable. And the way to get there on the plant-based food side so they can make those choices is support for ingredient manufacturing in this country. Because the more ingredient manufacturing we have, the more that we can drive down cost in terms of price parity and bring more choice and support that with innovation and development of new food products. So, you know, this is really the nexus of environmental sustainability, food security, economic growth for the country. And it all really hinges on our support for ingredient manufacturing.
Thank you, Mr. Gruhl. Thank you, Mr. McGregor. So, colleagues, we're only going to have time to go to the Conservatives, then to the Liberals, and then I have a few final notes before we could go for the day. So, Mr. Steinley, for up to 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I got a lot of stuff to get through, so it's going to be rapid fire. Mr. Menzies, what government policy moved you and your farm to zero tillage?
None.
Mr. Menzies, what government policy moved you towards using GPS in your machinery?
My own decision.
Mr. Menzies, what government policy moved you towards using 4R on your farm?
My own decision. Well, mine and my wife's. I better.
that is a very, very good answer, Mr. Menzies.
Can I add that to my first answer?
Is the EU Farm to Fork program based on science? Is this policy based in science? Is it a direction you think Canada should go down as a country?
I do not think Canada should follow that. I can't tell you whether or not it's based on science, but it certainly doesn't appear to be.
So to wrap it up, of all the innovations that you have done on your farm since the mid-'80s, how much of those innovations were brought to you through government policies in direction, or was it based on your own knowledge of your land and the fact that you wanted to get better at what you did and become a better steward of the land and make sure that your land and soil was sustainable for your generation and the generations to come on your farm?
You've basically written my bio. That is what it is. And I talk about sustainability. It's environmental, but it's economic as well. If it's not economic, you won't get to the environmental sustainability that you want to get to.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move to Mr. Gruhl. Thank you for being here, Bill. Appreciate it. We've known each other for a long time. And we were talking about bringing more value added to the agriculture. I believe Regina can be the capital of agri-food value added. We're seeing a boom in the opportunities to use canola crush plants, renewable diesel at the co-op refinery. So we were talking about bringing new companies and new processing facilities. And you touched on it a little bit. So if you were scouting were to take a new facility, would you say there's a jurisdiction that doesn't have an ever-increasing carbon tax, and there's a jurisdiction that has a carbon tax that's always going to affect your bottom line? How would you decide, and where would you decide to put this facility?
Yeah, I think, variable cost is always a consideration for wherever an organization is going to site a plant. And when I talk to ingredient manufacturers on a global basis, they're considering everything from the competitiveness of the business environment to the geopolitical environment, access to raw commodities, and the variable costs that will be associated with utilities and other taxes. And so to think about it in terms of one factor isolating itself as the decision, I'm not sure that that's how most businesses would look at it. What I would say is, we need a highly competitive business environment in Canada, and we're not competitive with our major jurisdiction competitors, which is the Midwest U.S.
Yes, thank you very much. But what we were talking about, one of your recommendations would be to have a regulatory climate that would foster investment. And I think one of those issues that some companies are seeing is a carbon tax that could go from $50 a ton to $170 a ton, which that would affect not only the power the facility uses, but also the trucking costs and everything in between. So I think that's something that would come into effect. But I'll move on from there. My other question would be, one thing that's happening around Regina is a lot of people now with the crush plants coming in are looking to grow canola more than they had in the past in the Regina area. So I would like your comments on how you feel people are going to, with food security being an issue, that some arable land in that area and around Saskatchewan is going to be moved from food consumption to fuel consumption, which probably brings in a bit of a moral question. And as we want to grow our plant-based proteins, how do you think those two are going to really coincide with each other, and what do you think is going to be possibly an unintended consequence of using more arable land for fuel instead of food?
Yeah, I think again what you've underpinned is the need for continued innovation in advanced breeding technologies, the development of varieties, farming technology, so that we can keep pushing yields up. Because the more that we divert cropland to industrial bioproduct use, that does create challenges. So innovation
one quick question.
on farm.
The ability to create and make more yields would be contingent on also fertilizer use at some point in time. So are we going to be able to continue to make those yields greater if farmers are forced to lower their fertilizer use?
I think I heard it here today. Farmers need all the tools in their toolbox to be successful.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to turn to Ms. Valdez, who I might be splitting their time with Ms. Taylor-Roy, but up to 5 minutes.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. I'll be sharing my time with Mrs. Taylor-Roy. Mr. Gruel, a November 2017 report from this committee noted that tariff barriers in Canada have decreased, but non-tariff barriers and technical requirements for Canadian exports have become more difficult. How can Canada reform its international trade policies to make it easier to export Canadian products like yours?
Yeah, I think, again, it's a focus on what it is that we're exporting. And so I would contend that our biggest opportunity to insulate ourselves against those is better integration into international supply chains with high-value products such as ingredients and food products as opposed to raw commodities.
Your organization has helped Canada claim itself as a global leader in the agri-food sector. What role can plant protein play in addressing food shortages and providing more affordable food options for Canadians?
Yeah, I think this is a critical one. And, the requirement for protein is going to grow on a global basis. And what we need to do is provide additional choices for consumers on a global basis based on the crops that we produce, but also domestically. And so the more that we can do to help companies innovate and increase ingredient manufacturing, we will push down the price so that it becomes more accessible for more Canadians, leading to better food security domestically as well.
Thank you. Mr. Menzies, you've spoken to audiences around the world, and earlier you referred and shared your stories of my birthplace in Africa. So I was hoping you can speak to any of the best practices you've seen in other countries that could strengthen our food production and trade here.
Get men off the couch in Africa to help women grow food.
Nice.
It's shocking, and I'm sure you know what I mean.
Yes.
I go back to our technologies. We have some incredible technologies. We're through research, we have crop varieties that require much less water. In Japan, they're growing rice now that doesn't have to be grown in water. Like those technologies can be exported tariff-free to help Africa. I don't need to tell you how frustrating it is to watch. I saw a rice processing plant in the Limpopo River Valley. There was 70,000 acres that used to be in rice. It flooded. The plant is sitting empty now. Like, it's just frustrating. We could help with so much. We have grain storage technology in this country beyond what other countries have. We can protect against food loss simply by exporting some of our technology about how to keep grain and how to keep vermin out of grain to save it so people can actually eat it.
Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Just a quick question for you, Mr. Gruel, but I want to start by saying I consider myself a full-bellied activist. However, I fill my belly on plant-based proteins, which I'm sure, as most people here recognize, since we're all concerned about farmland preservation and use, uses 47 to 99% less land than conventional protein and is much more effective at addressing world hunger. But Mr. Gruel, I was wondering if you could comment a little bit on the supercluster, on the innovation that this government began in 2018-19 and how that's helped your endeavors to solve the problems of world hunger by using plant protein.
Yeah, I think, with the investment from the Government of Canada of $173 million, we've been able to work with trailblazing companies across Canada to inject almost $500 million into innovation. And I'm a firm believer that innovation will underpin the growth of the plant-based food sector, but not only lead to, domestic and global food security. So, the incentive that government put on the table has really leveraged business investment in research and development, which is severely lacking in this country. And so the outcome in terms of jobs and GDP growth and the intellectual property portfolio that we've been able to create, I think will sustain growth for the sector for years to come.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I do have a half a minute left, I believe, so just one follow-up question. How important do you think plant-based proteins are in solving the world hunger problems in places like Kenya, South America, where I did visit as in international development and look at farms in those areas as well as here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with diets in those areas, but the reality is protein consumption on a global basis is increasing, just as population is increasing and more people are entering the middle class. So Canada has a responsibility, as I've heard today, to be a global supplier of high quality food, not just plant-based proteins, but all high quality foods.
Thank you.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, Ms. Taylor-Roy. Thank you, Mr. Gruel. And let me just thank our witnesses, Mr. Menzies, Mr. Gruel, and Mr. Hurst. Really important discussion today. Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your respective leadership in the agriculture sector. Our committee is certainly better off as a result of your testimony today. Now, colleagues, just before we go, we have just a few minutes, and I just got to run a few things by you. In terms of our scheduling plan, I've been working with the clerk on when we would do clause by clause for Bill C-234. I've asked her to schedule Legislative Council for November 14th. And on that basis, here's what I would ask for your permission to move forward on a schedule plan. Next week, Monday and Wednesday are already set. The clerk is working on having those witness panels lined up. I think we've truly fully exhausted our witness list for 234, so I would propose on Halloween we actually allow members to use that 2-hour period to discuss potential amendments. When we're back after the break, we would move with November 14th as the clause by clause, as I mentioned. Otherwise, we would continue with the global food security study. I am going to be away next week, so I need you all to be on your best behavior for Mr. Barlow. And Mr. Barlow, no funny tricks while I'm gone. So is that something you guys want to move forward with of what I've just proposed? No funny tricks. I'm seeing consensus. Okay, that's how we'll move forward on the schedule. Just two other notes. Agribition, Warren Steinley did send me a text to remind me that November 28th to December 3rd is a major show in Saskatchewan and, of course, for the whole country. So maybe that's something actually our leaders can have a conversation about, whether or not we could use perhaps MP travel points to be a part of that. And I'll leave that to the leaders on the committee to discuss. And I just want to thank our translators and our technical team. We had a bit of a delay with the vote. We did push this right till 7 o'clock. Thank you to our translators and thank you to our entire team. All right, we'll adjourn.